And we live. Hello and welcome everyone. It's time for another amazingly valuable episode of IT Career in Australia channel. And today we are diving into the topic of top tips to negotiate the highest salary in tech with Johnathan Maltby. Obviously, salary negotiation can be tricky. And it's a skill every tech professional needs, and not only tech professional, it's a skill everyone needs. So in this session we'll cover when to talk about some salary expectation, how to position your skills and market value, and some strategy, to avoid underselling yourself and negotiate that next offer. So were you interviewing for a new role or preparing for promotion, this discussion will help you to approach salary conversation with confidence and hopefully get the money you want. So please make sure to introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know that you're here. Say hi, let us know what you're looking, where you're watching us from. If you're not saying hi, we don't know that you're here, so we can't really talk to you. So make sure to say hi. And just remind you, I'm Jana Martin, since you forgot. If you're watching us on the YouTube, you can connect me on LinkedIn. You can just find Jana Martins there. And if you're watching us on LinkedIn, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can see some new live streams there every week. And also suggesting you to join my meetup group, especially if you are in Melbourne, because we do have a lot of face-to-face events in Melbourne and some events coming to Sunshine Coast too. So stay tuned. We'll talk about it at the end of the stream as well. Anyway, a few people saying hi. Jatine is here. David is here from Melbourne. Thank you so much, guys, for saying hi. And I can see everyone's watching, so make sure to say hi in the comments. So anyway, that's enough of me. I'll pass it on to Johnathan to introduce himself, please.
Thank you very much, Jana. Hi, everybody. My name is Johnathan Maltby. I am a career and business coach. I focus on helping people really kind of get that clarity around themselves when they're navigating their career. That's often clarity of who and what they are, clarity of their value, clarity of their skills. Often it's clarity of their career direction if they're feeling a little bit lost or they're stagnating or drifting. The concepts that I take is really around that strategy of how to manage your career like a CEO manages a business. And so that's kind of the concepts that I work in. I come from a recruitment in teaching and then in recruitment as well. And I've been running my consultancy now for the best part of about 12 years. And I'm based up on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. So super excited to be here. Thanks, Jana, for having me.
Thank you, Jonathan. A few more people saying hi. Thank you, guys. Rahul is here. Manasong is here from Adelaide. Thank you for joining. Marina is here from Melbourne. Thank you, guys, for saying hi. If you didn't say hi, you know what to do. And I think we'll start this stream with a little bit sort of presentation from Johnathan to give a bit of a tips and context, and then we go through more Q&As. So so if you have any questions that already burning in your mind, feel free to pop it in the comments straight away, and maybe in the 15 minutes time we'll start looking at the questions. So so make sure to pop them there. Johnathan, let's set the scene for the topic.
Let's take it away. So negotiating your salary, for a lot of people that can be really quite a scary or daunting thing, but when you kind of think about it at its core, it's really just a discussion between two parties for the sake of wanting to kind of reach an agreement at the end of the day. I think a great negotiator, if you want to do really great negotiating, you just don't want to aim for just any agreement. You want to aim for something that is amazing for you. So I always say, go in with the mentality of thinking big. So that's the first thing that I want to kind of talk about with you guys today, is really the mindset and the positioning of how you're going to put yourself out there. Even before the interview, negotiation starts in the mind, and that really is going to flow into the job application later. And landing your next kind of role and the salary you deserve, I say that requires what I call a peak performance mindset. one of the things that a lot of times when people do is when they start applying for jobs, they make the mistake of looking at a key selection criteria, looking at a job description, going, yeah, I think I'm going to be a good candidate for this role. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? So one of the things you want to do is if you want to separate yourself from the competition, if you want to rise above and put you in a really good, strong position to negotiate salaries, is you don't want to think like a candidate. And I'm gonna flip something on its head for you guys for a moment. As I said, most people think to themselves, oh, I'm a match for this job, I'm a good candidate. You want to think something different. You want to think, right, all businesses have problems. Now, you know the problems that you can solve for organizations. It's in your particular field. And the reason that a job description or a job is available is because right now that company is in pain because they haven't got the right skills or person in that particular role. So you want to think about, what are the problems I can help organizations overcome? What are the outcomes through my expertise that I can help them achieve via solving those problems? And this is where the mindset thing changes. It's a case of going, I'm not another candidate for a role. I'm going to think and position myself as a solution to their problems. I'm going to help that business through my skills, through my expertise, win in the market. I'm going to help them overcome their challenges and achieve their vision. So you're going to
I'm going to sell them that solution.
Absolutely. You are going to be the solution. You are the solution. So that's the first thing you want to think, is you want to adopt that kind of growth mindset, not only for your own career, but for the role that you're going to move into as well. So that's the first thing. As you go into any negotiation, as you go into any interview, or even just in your CV and your LinkedIn, position yourself as that kind of high value asset for an organization. You're not a candidate, you're a solution to the problem. Let everybody else position themselves as candidates. So that's the first thing you want to do as you're going into this. Position yourself in your mindset as well. So that's my first technique. The second technique, research. You've done some research on the research, haven't you? You've been diving into this as well. What did you come up with?
Look, Johnathan, I kind of did a quick look yesterday just to see if the salaries in tech world is actually dropped. But none of the website confirming that theory. Actually, the salaries didn't drop, even if it kind of feels a bit like, oh my God, with less jobs and things like that. Tech jobs still the most high-paying jobs compared to other industries. And I think maybe we feel a little bit like drop because it was a slight drop in 2023 after it was a bit increase during COVID, where we had a really shortage of tech talent. We didn't have enough immigrants coming to the country. And the salary definitely was high in 2021, 2022. It was that increase where people basically was taking like signing bonuses and things like that. And then in 2023, it was like a slight drop. But in reality, it's not that significant. I think especially if you're in the tech roles, the salary been quite steady. Maybe when you're more in managerial head of sort of roles, that's been a bit more challenging, especially if been there for a while and your salary been growing, and then you get redundancy. You might have to take the step back. You might not find exact match.
Yeah, look, it's definitely a sign of the times, and I don't think it's just restricted to Australia. I think it's kind of a global sort of trend as well. So, a part of going into the negotiation is really doing the research and understanding, what are the salaries for my level? What are the salaries for my area of expertise and my experience? So, and I think understanding these market rates is really essential, because you need to be realistic when going into this, but also at the same time, you don't want to undersell yourself. I saw so many people when I used to be a recruitment consultant going, what salary do you want? Most people go, I'm not sure, or it's not really about the money. Rubbish. It's always about the money. Come on. Let's be honest here. You got to earn a living, and you got to earn a living at the rate that you deserve. So I would say, part of doing research before you start putting yourself out there is really understanding, hey, what could I potentially get? So you could use, Hayes, the recruitment company Hayes, do an annual salary guide. And that will give you a bit of a benchmark about where you could start positioning yourself. Another way to kind of figure out where you should be at, especially if you don't understand where your salary range should sit, go and meet some peers. Go and meet some people who are already in doing that role. Look them up on LinkedIn, for example, and go and say, hey, this is my skills, this is my experience, this is how long I've been doing it. Where should I sit? And if you talk to like 5 or 10 people, you'll get a good idea of where that should be. And lastly, go and hit up some recruiters. Go and talk about them. These people have got their finger on the pulse all the time of where the market is at. They will know what companies are paying for a particular set of skills or how long you've been in the industry for. So I think going into those negotiations with the right amount of information and the right information is essential. Yeah, definitely.
And I'm glad, Johnathan, that you mentioned about like asking people, for their salaries. It is a bit of a gray area, how like it's uncomfortable to ask people how much they earn, and some company have those in the contract that you're not supposed to disclose your salary and things like that. Of course, you can't just ask anyone on the street like, hey, like
how much are you on?
Like how much you earn? Like what's your salary? But I always, like, with my girlfriends, with my close friends, I do ask this question because, like, obviously with people kind of like I trust them, because it is important to sort of understand, because sometimes you see something online and then you talk with real people and you're like, interesting, like that's that actually feels a bit off, especially if you didn't change your job for a while and you maybe kind of like didn't keep up with the market trends. Sorry, just want to check. Marina is saying that we can't see our presentation. We only have like one slide with the research on the screen. So, guys, hope you can see it. So, let us know if you can see that slide. But I think, asking people how much they make, it is not that rude. It's okay sometimes.
You don't have to ask them. You could just kind of say, hey, what range should I be asking for? What should I be looking for? As opposed to, hey man, how much money are you on? Instead of asking that, just say, hey, look, this is where I am at. This is what I'm thinking. This is how much years experience. These are the technologies I've worked with. This is what level I'm at. What do you think is a fair market rate? And they might say, well, I'm on whatever it is, or, oh, look, in our organization, we pay between this range and this range. So the more information you have, you'll get a feeling for what it is. Yeah.
I think people can't see our beautiful slide for some reason.
That's all right.
Oh well.
It's only one-page slides. We don't really need the slides.
Yeah.
So the next strategy was really around value. And this is, I think, to negotiate your salary with confidence and certainty, it is absolutely essential that you know your value. Because if you don't know your value and the value that you can bring to an organization, most times you are going to undersell yourself. You're going to give them the upper hand. They're going to know, this guy doesn't know how much he's worth. Oh, we're going to lowball him. That often happens. Know your value. So your job in this is to kind of like demonstrate your worth with evidence-based results. So when you're going into your negotiation, go and think back to previous roles, right? We want to bring that value statement in there. Have you managed to help them increase profits? It could be, have you helped them streamline, operations? Have you helped them improve their services, or created efficiencies, or maybe reduce some costs, or solve some significant business challenge? That's the thing, is like, what value have you added that you can also bring into this organization? Now, your value is also around the problems you can solve and how you lead them from a bad place to a better place through solving those problems. But your value also goes beyond your technical skills as well. So you want to think about showcasing your potential leadership, your business acumen, maybe some business strategy, or anything that has had an impact on the organization. One of the things that I love to talk about and love to help people kind of work through is adopting what I call that kind of mindset of delusional certainty, belief in your value, and also be able to counteract or that question, what I call the so what question. So people go, oh, I've got all these skills and I can do all these things. And they go, well, that's all very well, but so what? How does that help our organization? How does your skill set? You want to be able to take those skills and say, and this is what that means for you. All right. So how does hiring you directly contribute to their business success? You got to go beyond just the technical skills. Tell them what that means. What are they going to get when they hire you? You want to start positioning yourself as that high value asset as well. Hey, this is what I can bring to the table. This is how I can make your organization better. So really, that is a key thing. Know your value. We can move on to the next slide.
I think I muted myself. And I think it's on that value thing. It's probably kind of important to mention because you can sometimes not get the offer because you actually ask for less than your value, and it can sort of trigger something from the hiring manager too. So I think it's that combination of research and the value that you need to kind of hit that spot. And it would be some organization, of course, that hire you because you cheaper, but not that, like, not that many. So I think mostly, I don't know, John, what do you think? I feel like if it's a consulting, they probably would be happy with, like, if you make yourself cheaper, because it's a direct kind of money making, because because you're billable and they can sell you more. So I feel like if you're applying for consultancy, making like sort of having a lower expectation can help you actually to get the job.
I don't know. We don't want to undersell ourselves. We don't want to go too much below market rate. I mean, if you're a gun and you know you're a gun, sell yourself at the right level, and it's their job to be able to position you to their clients potentially and say, hey, we've got a gun here. We've got an absolute rock star, and it's going to cost you this much as well. You know what they say? Pay peanuts, get monkeys. All right. Next one, communicating your offer. So if they're saying, okay, what salary are you looking for? You're always going to get this. What are you looking for? And here's the thing: is negotiation is not just about asking for money. It's also about framing your worth. I love this line from the movie The Godfather, where he says, "I'll make him an offer he can't refuse." And we've all kind of heard that line. So that's the thing. That is your value offer coming back into it. So when you go into an interview, make sure that you know your value. Make sure that you have a strong elevator pitch. As they say, you never get the first chance to make another chance to make a great first impression. So when you go into that interview and they say, tell us a little bit about yourself, you want to come in from a strong position right from the beginning, which might make it easier later on when they say, what are you looking for? What's your salary expectations? So when it comes to pitching what you're looking for, my thoughts around this is, think about what is your minimum or range that you want. Don't give them a figure like, oh, I want $150,000. I would say give them a range to play around with. And I tell you what, there's a bit of psychology that happens in there. So your minimum salary, I reckon, if you're wanting to move to another company and it's on your own terms, you're resigning for your job, or you're wanting to go, I wouldn't move for anything less than 15K. In this day and age, you think, if I'm going to go with that, I need to at least get a 15 to 20K pay rise. All right. So when you think about, let's say, for example, you're on 150K now. Okay. You want to think, okay, for me to move to the next level, I really want 165, 15,000 to go up. But now you want to give them a range. I find like a 10K range gives them some nice wiggle room. So if they say, what are you looking for in terms of a salary? And you're currently on 150, you could say, look, based on market rate, based on the research that I've done, I'm looking for a salary of between 165 to 175,000. And the cool thing happens here is if they lowball you and they give you 165, you've still got a better increase, that 15,000. Now they may go, yeah, 175. Great. You've just got a massive pay increase. 25K pay, what's that? 150, 25K. There we go. Or they might go in the middle of, say, 170. So now you've got a 20K pay rise. So if you give them some wiggle room, that is kind of a really kind of good idea. Another thing when communicating your salary expectations, and I know this from being a recruiter, people would often get a little bit awkward when saying that. You want to practice this in the mirror so that it becomes so confident when you're saying that I'm looking for a salary of $165,000 to $175,000, as opposed to, I don't know, anywhere between here. They'll smell the fear. Okay, so be confident, practice it in front of the mirror so it feels like, hey, I've said this a few times. This feels normal.
It's definitely important, to communicate that with the confidence and don't get all like sort of uncomfortable with the question. So, Johnathan, I'm going to throw a few things to you before we go to the
go for it.
Next slide. There's a lot of kind of advice, like a sort of borderline advice there when it comes to salary negotiation. For example, especially when you're talking about the expectations, there is advice that maybe it's good to delay salary talks until the last minute. So, you sort of not giving the expectations, say it's negotiable, like trying to get the next interview and the next interview, and just leaving it till the last minute, then they already invest in the interviewing you and stuff. So what do you think? Like, is it a good technique, or is it, could be, turn some people off if you're not giving the salary expectations?
I think it depends how you get into that role. If you've gone through a recruiter, they would usually have asked about those salary, what's your expected salary, right at the beginning of the conversation. If you're looking for something 20, 30K above what the top, you're not going to get in. They're going to say, oh, sorry, you're probably not right for this role. They're only paying this amount. And then you can save yourself a whole lot of trouble. I would think about potentially asking them. You could ask them, what's the budget that you have for this particular role right at the beginning? You could do that. Or they may say it in the first interview sometimes. If you're going to second interview, you might want to then, ask, just to save us some time, or just so we're not wasting each other's time. What's your budget for this role? And then if it falls nicely within your space, you can go, sweet, I am on track. And this is where, you don't want to undersell yourself, because people are going to go, oh, you're overqualified for this role. And that's another dangerous trap to fall into, where you're getting knocked back because they're saying you're overqualified. And it happens all the time. I think they will have a process. They will have a deciding when they're going to actually talk about salary. Hopefully it's in the first interview, so that not wasting anybody's time. But usually when you're applying for a role, if you're doing it on those job websites, it'll give you, when you put in your criteria, it usually will, whilst you might not see the salary, it's triggered something behind the scenes so that it knows, this person falls within this scope here.
Yeah, because recruiters usually do put that salary range and just make it non-visible. I think especially on the SIG, so if you put the filters on your salary, it's roughly will filter it on that salary, even as you said, the salary is not visible.
Yeah,
but sometimes it's funny, like, they're playing that game, like, what's your expectations? But what's your budget? No, tell us expectation first. So, I mean, you can play that game, but I think you still need to have a sort of figure in mind. I think it's important. It's important to have the figure in mind, even if you sort of like leaving that room for negotiation.
I was doing some research on, the other day on this, and, who should go first when asking for salary. You could do that little bit of that back and forward. But if you know your value and you have that delusional certainty and confidence, talk about it yourself. Bring it up. State your number first. That rather than waiting for them to suggest. The first number sets the tone for the discussion. Right, I'm looking for this. Boom. And they go, oh, geez, okay, wow. Or that sits nicely within what we're offering. Or for the right person, they may have some of that wiggle room as well. And I've seen that happen when people go, for the right person, would be prepared to move on that, as long as you can demonstrate that value.
Yeah. So another really common sort of thing to do. What about bluffing about competing offers that you might have? They want to make you an offer, and you're like, you know what? I already have an offer, and it's 20K more. So, like, if you can match it, I'll take the job. What do you think about that technique?
Oh, it's dangerous territory, but it pays off if it works out. It can pay off, but I've also seen people who are overconfident play a card or play a hand they don't have. And when the other company finds out, I've seen deals fall through where a great opportunity has fallen through, and the company said they've withdrawn the offer. Sorry, you fell outside, and you can't go back. You can't go back and say, no, I've changed my mind. I'll take that 20K less, because it doesn't work out for anybody. So be careful with that. In saying that, though, I don't know, try your luck. See, I love the saying, fortune favors the brave. If you feel confident that you can do it, do it. But it goes back to know your value, know your worth right up at the front, and you might not have to play those games if you're upfront with that.
I think if you went through 5 rounds of interview, and company already spent so much time to interviewing you and going through all this rounds of interview time, money, and if they think about, oh my God, do we have to go through all of it again? We rather spend another extra 20K.
It might be, but also here's another bit of a tip. If you get a job offer and you've got a couple of offers, always be upfront with the recruiter that you're working with and say, hey, XYZ just given me this, they've given me 20,000. If your guy wants to make an offer, they've got to match that. The recruiter can then go and bat for you. If you're dealing with a recruitment consultant, that's their job, is to negotiate sometimes on your behalf. It's like a broker does. If you're upfront with the recruiter and you tell them, I've just had an offer from this company, it's XYZ, they can actually put pressure on the client to going, he's just got an offer. If you want him, you've either got to match that or better that. And that can work in your advantage.
But also, and also could be the cases where if you push too hard and they have another candidate that asks for less and have the same skills, and they're like, look, there is someone with the same, we rated him similar, and they're asking for 30K more. So that can happen too. So obviously, it also depends how much you want that job too. So
that's right. I've seen people go in less if they really want the role, because they know they can use that role and that they'll learn so much from that role. Some people will trade off what they can learn in that role and how they can grow their career from that role versus a higher salary. They'll go, look, I'm happy to go in lower because I can see the advantage of this role for my career as well. So that's an option too.
Yeah. What about demanding some equity or profit sharing or some shares and things like that? Maybe even if you're not on the level of where you can ask for shares. What about trying to negotiate some bonuses like this? Is that, you think, the good?
100% agree with that. If they've come in lower than your expectation, the negotiation isn't over. It's just the beginning. All right. So maybe you can look beyond salary. You could maybe negotiate some other things that don't have money but still valuable. It could be like additional leave. It could be, hey, maybe you pay me a little bit less, but what professional development and funding for professional development can you throw? Maybe you're trying to get some certifications. Maybe they'll pay for that. It could be sometimes equity or stock options. It could be other benefits like health insurance. Well, that's going to be a few thousand a year. Could be travel allowances. Could be a parking spot, which can be very, very expensive. It could be remote working flexibility. Yeah, maybe I'll take a little less, but I get to work from home. Another thing to kind of ask is, ask them if they give you a salary, if they give you what their expectation is, you're free to go back and say, look, ideally I would like this. What are the opportunities to negotiate? What flexibility is there in this offer? You're fully legitimized in asking that. Another way to kind of go about this, if you get a lower sort of expectation, they go in lower, is ask for a review. So you'll usually have your 6-month probation. See if they can be open to negotiating a salary to where you want to be after 6 months. That gives you that time to prove yourself that you are worth that money. And by crikey, you need to drive in that value during that time. You need to go like a machine. Now, here's the trip that trips people up. You need to get that in writing, that you're going to get a salary review after your probation is complete, if you pass probation. Because I've seen it where people go, I didn't promise you a salary review. Oh, no, we changed our mind. You have to get it in writing. The next thing you want to be doing is understanding what you're being measured against for that salary review after those 6 months. Very, very important. Get it in writing. Because I've seen people being so excited after 6 months that I've performed well, I've done it, and they go, we didn't say that. Oh, that person who hired you, well, they're left. I don't know what they promised.
What the deal was, yeah.
I've seen it happen so many times. Yeah.
You can even put in your contract salary review every 6 months.
Why not? Absolutely.
Yeah, if they agree to that, then you have it in writing in your contract. It's saying the salary is that, the salary review every 6 months or like every whatever. Yeah, that's one of the strategies for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. I have a few more, questions. What about something like, if you're interviewing with and negotiating salary with HR, and you don't, maybe, you want to bypass HR and you're like, no, I want to negotiate directly with the hiring manager. Is it a good strategy? Sort of like, the hiring manager maybe have a bit more budget, maybe HR just have those kind of like strict brackets, but if the hiring managers see value, they might be a bit more, flexible. Have you seen anything like that worked out?
I haven't. Again, it really wouldn't come down to the hiring manager so much and the HR as opposed to the financial controller. They will have a set budget. They might be able to pull something out of some other budgets if they get a little bit creative with their budget management. If you get on well with the hiring manager and say, hey, look, I'd love to work with you. I really, really would. What would it take to get this over the line? You're negotiating a deal here, and the deal is you. So what do we need to do to get this over the line? You want me, I want you. What do we need to make this happen? Put it back on them. Let them go back and work for you if they can. But this takes that delusional confidence that you need to bring in there. Don't cave. Otherwise, look, and this is another thing, is be prepared to walk away sometimes. Not every deal is yours. Confidence, in your worth gives you leverage. So if they're negotiating with you, it means they want you. All right. So it depends how much they want you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But therefore, it comes back to having that value offer, that offer they can't refuse.
Look, I have a few more here. Two more.
Go for it.
What about using some personal circumstances to kind of leverage salary? Maybe coming up with some story. I don't know, like I have a mortgage that I need to pay, and that mortgage is that much. And like if I put all my expenses, and I recently divorced, and my wife taking like 70% of my salary, and like putting together like a really good story that like that's a sort of the minimum I need to
I
get
think
it
that puts you into a low status position. That puts you into a desperation position. As I said, go back and know your value, and that you'll be able to counteract that. Even if, yes, that might be the actual case. I wouldn't look. You could say, one of the things you could say is, look, I have a minimum amount that I need to maintain my life, to maintain my thing, whatever I need. Don't give them a sob story, because that diminishes your value. It makes you seem, weak. I wouldn't say that. So go in and say, no, for me to be able to maintain my current lifestyle and manage my obligations, I require the salary. That's the way I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't put a sob story in that, because that to me, like, that diminishes you. I
Or
wouldn't do that.
making you a bit of a like high maintenance in the way that like, oh, this person already have all this trouble. What's next?
Exactly. That could be a red flag that you got too much happening in your life that you might be bringing into the workplace. It's a
Yeah.
perception thing. Yeah.
One more I have. What about playing like a consultant card and saying like, okay, so maybe let's start with the contract and like, kind of negotiate the high because the contract maybe pay more. And you're like, okay, so do the, I don't know, try before you buy. I'll do like 3 months on the contract terms. I'll do like, on this daily rate. And if we all, like each other, we can negotiate the full-time salary.
I've seen that used as a tactic successfully in the past. I've seen people where there's a little bit of hesitation from them and maybe from you. It's like kind of like, hey, let's go on a couple of trial dates. Let's see if we got some chemistry sort of going here. Maybe they've got some hesitancy that you're not up to the play, or maybe that you might have a risk. And we say, I use that as a risk mitigation technique to say, hey, tell you what, and this is usually driven by this should be driven by you, if not them, to say, hey, look, we're not quite sure if you're the right person for the role, and say, well, tell you what, why don't we remove some of the risk? Why don't we try a 3-month contract? Let's go for a 3-month contract at this rate. Maybe it's pro rata or whatever it is. We'll see if we're right for each other. Let's get some wins over the line. Let's help you get that confidence that you need to have me, and then maybe let's renegotiate in 3 months' time. That might give them a way to going, oh yeah, that might work really, really well. And it's low risk for them and it's low risk for you. But it's another way to kind of get in if there's a little bit of hesitancy or uncertainty from maybe their side or your side. You want to work together, but there's some blocks. That could be a really good way to kind of get around that. But that comes down to that negotiation, finding that common middle ground to give it a go. Let's try it.
There you
was
go.
A good question, Jana. Good question.
ChatGPT helped me with those, yeah. And that was actually quite interesting for myself to sort of looking at some, the risky negotiating techniques and kind of see what works. But let's take some questions. Let's take some questions from the audience. I'm cautious about the time. We actually already get to almost 40 minutes just talking about some different techniques. There's a few questions here. Hugh has a quite specific one. I'm near the end of my unpaid internship and my mentor is asking me for my expected salary. He also mentioned that the role won't be guaranteed and this will be decided by the boss. I'm not sure if I should lowball it so that I can increase my chance to get the role.
That's a great question. That's a really good question. Internships can be a little bit of a gray sort of area. Again, know your market rate, and you should be knowing what value you brought to the organization during that time of your unpaid internship. Hey, I've managed to do these things here. You're almost pitching them as a low risk hire because they know you know them now. You've both experienced how you like to work. I wouldn't lowball. If they say no, sorry, at least you walk away with that experience. I think the purpose of a good internship is not necessarily to get a job in that organization, but to get your foot in the door for the industry so you can acquire some sort of experience that you can then leverage off. Sometimes it results in a job offer at the end. Sometimes it doesn't, but that's not the purpose of the internship in my opinion. So know your market rate. And see, again, if they say, oh, no, find out what they do usually pay juniors in that organization. Do some digging. See what you can do. Yeah. Talk to HR.
Maybe ask the interns who was there the year before what salary they got.
Absolutely. Or ask them what range. They don't have to tell you what salary they're on, but you might be able to say, what should I be pitching myself at? They may go, oh, these guys are only going to pay X, or no, they're going to pay this. And then if you've got that information, go, oh, I was going to ask for $15,000 less. Sweet.
He is also asking, do salary ranges usually include superannuation? I think it depends. It depends how you negotiate, how company negotiates. Some companies say package. Some companies say, whatever, 150 plus super. I think that what's important is make sure to not to say 150, thinking that it's 150 plus super, and then get the offer with the super included. So I think you always need to make sure you check when you're negotiating if you're saying package or it's plus super. So always ask this question.
Good point. Definitely. Because I've seen people go, oh, I got 150, and then they got the offer, and then it's including super. Oh no. And then they're not much better off than where they were previously. So either say package, so go higher, or say plus super.
Yeah. And sometimes be careful as well. Sometimes package can include bonus. And so need to be careful if it's like the full package, which is bonus, maybe only paid on target, or depends on the company performance. So so I would always sort of double check what package means for each company. So if it's the base plus salary plus bonus, so definitely double check those things before they're sending you an offer. So you don't go back and then like, oh, I thought that the bonus is on top, or I thought that super is on top. So, like try to check it before they're actually sending you an offer.
100% agree. Yeah.
Rahul has a question. How do you negotiate strategy differ between startup enterprise companies and government role? You don't negotiate in government role.
You don't. Well, government role doesn't really. Government role is usually defined by whatever level that is. They'll have what they call bands. Okay, and you don't really go, in my experience, outside those bands. The band is appropriate to your level. Good old Ben, excellent. Yes. That'll be
Go back to this if you're interested in government jobs. Definitely go back to this discussion with Ben.
Ben is the master at that. Definitely go back to that discussion there. Go back to the question there. Look, startups, it depends. It depends if they've gone through funding and what series of funding they've had. Enterprise group companies usually will also have salary bands, but there might be some wiggle room in there as well. Startups could offer you equity, but not the salary you want. And I've seen it go pear-shaped a good few times, where you've been promised a salary, it never happens, they fold, and you've been underpaid for the last few years. So I think it's really good understanding exactly what that means, and get something in writing always. Yeah, and where they're on their funding, if they've got funding as well from investors.
And that probably, when I feel like with the startup and small companies, probably sometimes more flexibility in negotiation, not necessarily just salary, but the negotiating that whole package and like flexibility or something else. Where with enterprise, they probably a bit more strict what they can include, what they can't include, what's the range, because they have like a different benches for different like employee, and it will be unfair if you like completely out of that range. So I think it will be a bit more restrictions when you're talking with enterprise, where with like smaller companies, let's just throw car park in it, or let's just throw like health insurance in it, or something like that. So I think there's more flexibility on the things you can negotiate as a part of the package as well. Few more questions just quickly. I think we're getting running out of time. If they already gave an expected salary in Seek profile, will it be okay if we give a range afterwards during interview, as they can see our expected salary beforehand?
Look, it depends on what wiggle room they have, and it depends on how strong your value offer is and how well you interview. They may go, oh, this guy's pretty standout. Okay, yeah, we'd be willing to, because we would really need this guy. We can see the value. He's a gun, or she's a gun. Yes, now we need to adjust our salary expectations there. So sometimes that can work. So again, if we already have an expected salary in Seek profile, will it will it be okay if we give a range afterwards during the interview? Yeah, look, I've seen this go bad. I've seen where people know the salary, still go for the job, and then expect something more. And they're going to go, well, you just wasted everybody's time because you knew what the salary was for this. So it can blow up in your face. Again, why are you applying for a job that's below your salary expectation anyway? I would go back to your actual search methodology and your criteria for a job, if that's the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Need to be careful. Question from Victoria. Great topic. Thank you. If in your experience, what do companies tend to pay a premium for? Extensive experience in the relevant industry or the seniority of the position? Manager, senior, mid-level?
I have seen people with 5 years experience compete against people with 10 years experience. It doesn't, the length of time doesn't necessarily equate to the amount of expertise you've developed during that space. It's more about what you can do for them. The time is, yes, certainly if you've got more time, but I've seen people who've crammed more into 5 years than people who've crammed into 10 years. I would say seniority, definitely. Again, it comes back to value. Sell them on the value, not what you can do for them, what life is going to be like for that organization when they have your bum on their seat in that business. That is where the real crux is. That comes back to that. So your value can trump your skill or how much seniority you've got. Yeah, go in with that value. Remember, you're not a candidate, you're a solution to a problem.
Yes. Yeah. And obviously different companies have like different approach in terms of how they budget the position in the first place. So could be quite different. I think we answered most of the question. There's a quick question from Manasong, but I think it also comes back to that research piece. If you're asking a salary increase, it's 15K, just the example, but you need to kind of again think about what's the benchmark in the industry, do your research, kind of think how much you want at another job. So there is so many.
Look, I've seen people go from 60 to 100 in their next role because they've been so confident in what they bring to the table, and they've been able to sell that to the company where they're going, we don't really care what you've been on previously. We're happy to offer you this because we can see the value and we know what we're going to get, depending on how you've sold yourself during that whole process. So that was just an example there. But, 70 to 85 depends on the environment. Why not? You don't want to move for low money or 5 or 10K anymore, because when you break that up over a 12-month period and you take tax out of it, it's not really worth it.
I definitely had the example when one of my friends, she went from like 75K to 140.
Yeah.
Simply because she was in a big company for a long time. She was asking for promotion. They will keep saying, you'll get a promotion, you get a promotion. It's been a few years. They will keep saying, you'll get a promotion. Then she's like, I'm done. I'm going to get another job. Then did another job, double the salary.
That highlights a very quick point. I know we're really out of time, but if you want a big jump in salary, you're not going to get it through a promotion within an organization. Use jumping around from organization to organization as part of your career management strategy. They may give you a 5, 10K pay rise, but if you really want to get the big bucks, you usually have to move company. And that's what you could do every, say, 3 years. Don't worry about a promotion. Get your promotion by going to another organization. And that's a monetary strategy, yeah.
And Sean has a similar question about, the same thing apply when internal loan transfer, but to senior role. They know your current pay. How do you max negotiation? You know what, Sean? I think we should run actually separate topic on negotiating your salary for like internal promotion. Maybe Johnathan want to come back, because I feel like the whole topic about asking for promotion and negotiating promotion, it's probably like a topic by itself, and we're running out of time. But Johnathan, if you gonna give like a 30 seconds advice that you pretty much already mentioned. If you want a big pay rise, you probably need to change the company.
Just already said, if you want a big pay rise, you've got to move company. They already know that. But there are some great strategies that you can be doing a year or 10 months before your salary negotiation comes up. That is part of a strategy, but that's a whole different conversation. I've got some really good techniques, and then I work with my clients on how to set themselves up for their performance review and that salary negotiation, but it has to happen months before you actually get there.
Yes, and on that note, what you can do, you can go to jonathanmaltby.com.au and book free initial consultation with Johnathan if you have, and I'm sure there's a lot of people still have quite a few questions on that, hot topic of salary negotiation. So if you still have some questions, one thing you can do, just go to jonathanmaltby.com.au and book the free consultation. And of course, tune in for all the future live streams, because I'm sure we'll bring this topic, because that, topic about the promotion and negotiating promotion keep coming up a few times. And we didn't really run the specific, we talk about the promotion, but we didn't run the topic about like exactly how to kind of prepare and negotiate your next step. So I think it will be a great topic for some of the upcoming streams. And just on that topic, so what's upcoming? In 2 weeks, next week will be no live stream. Next week, I'm going to run the face-to-face event in Melbourne, and that will be around impact of AI on enterprise architecture. I'm running it on behalf from here on, the consultancy I'm currently working for, and we're going to sponsor the Women in Architecture organization and talk about impact of AI in enterprise architecture. So if you enterprise architect, solution architect, or maybe business analyst or solution or software engineer who's really interested in architecture, that's a great opportunity to network with people and listen to a few talks. So yes, it's next Tuesday, 18th of March. Please come along. You will find this event at From Here On Meetup Group, not my Meetup Group, From Here On Meetup Group. I'll send you a link if you're interested. And a week after, on the 26th of March, we're going to talk about the topic that worries everyone who comes to Australia, the local experience myth, landing a tech job in Australia. That's, chicken and egg. You need the job to to get the local experience. You need the local experience to get the job. And why, it's so important here and why everyone talk about it. So we're going to talk about this with Aditya in 2 weeks. Make sure if you're in that situation, you need to join that conversation. And also, of course, it will be another tech walk in Melbourne in a few weeks on the 6th of April. And exciting, we also will have a tech walk on the Sunshine Coast on the 13th of April. And guess what? Johnathan gonna be there. So if you happen to live that way, if you happen to be in Queensland, whatever, Brisbane, Gold Coast, and you can make it to Sunshine Coast on the 13th of April, that's a chance, to meet Johnathan in real life too, and go for a walk with the local people. So let's see how we go on the Sunshine Coast. Let's hope we can make it regular as well and get some people together on the Sunshine Coast as well. So exciting, and hopefully no more cyclones.
No more cyclones, please.
No more cyclones. 13th of April will be beautiful Sunshine Coast weather. So, yes. Okay, so that's so much going on as usual. So obviously, if you haven't subscribed to YouTube channel, do that. Join the Meetup group and connect with both of us on LinkedIn. Johnathan, just passing on to you for the to few last words in terms of what sort of, I guess, to summarize our today's conversation, what you would like our today audience, what advice you would like to leave to our audience.
I think the biggest bit of advice when it comes to negotiating and growing your career is being able to first understand your value, know what you bring to the table, know your competitive advantage, know your professional identity and your skills, and be able to communicate that with confidence and clarity. If you need help doing any of that, come and book yourself in for that free 45-minute session. This is what I do every single day, is to stop people underselling themselves.
Perfect. So don't undersell yourself, guys. And because sometimes it can work and completely not in your favor. And again, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you online in 2 weeks or next Tuesday in real life. Thank you, Johnathan.
Thanks a lot, Jana.